Now, Michele Marsh, Mike Schneider, Warner Wolf, Dr. Frank Field, and the Channel 2 News team. This is Channel 2 News at 11. Everything you need to know, because anything can happen in New York.
Good evening. Tonight there are charges of an elaborate cover-up in the death of Liberace. His doctor says he died of a heart attack, but a coroner in California isn't buying that story. And just a few hours ago, medical investigators revealed that Liberace, in fact, died of AIDS. We get the latest now on the Nightbeat from correspondent Penny Griego in Riverside, California.
Today, the Riverside County coroner released new test results and confirmed what many suspected since Liberace's death last week.
In layman's terms, Mr. Liberace died from an opportunistic disease caused by AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome.
The controversy over Liberace's illness began long before he died, with the Las Vegas Sun reporting in January he had AIDS. His associates denied the report then and at the time of his death, and his doctor listed the cause of death as heart failure. The Riverside County coroner ordered the additional tests once it was discovered Liberace had been exposed to the AIDS virus. The coroner believes there was an attempted cover-up.
It is my firm belief that somebody along the line wanted to pull a fast one on us.
Eisenhower Medical Center in Rancho Mirage denies any cover-up.
I don't believe there was any cover-up on the part of Eisenhower or its physicians.
Did you report to the county that Liberace had AIDS based on 4 days in your institution, the study that you did?
We reported to the county, as required by law, the results of the HTLV3 testing.
What was that result?
We are not allowed, as required by statute, unfortunately, to relay those results to anyone at this time.
The coroner will turn over his information to various boards and possibly the DA to decide if any action should be taken against the doctor, hospital, or funeral home for failing to report Liberace had AIDS. Penny Griego, Channel 2 News.
Tonight, one of the key figures in the Iran arms scandal is hospitalized after what CBS News is now reporting is a suicide attempt. Former National Security Advisor Robert McFarlane is listed in good condition after taking an overdose of the tranquilizer Valium. Friends say McFarlane's been depressed ever since his congressional testimony on the scandal, which differed greatly from the White House version. And tonight, his lawyer says McFarlane accidentally overdosed and vehemently denies reports of a suicide attempt. The letters and the videotapes from the American hostages in Lebanon indicated they would die at 5 o'clock this afternoon if Israel did not release 400 Arab prisoners it was holding. Israel said no, the deadline has now come and gone, and as far as we know tonight, the 3 Americans and 1 Indian hostage are still alive. The terrorists now say they have extended the deadline for those 4 hostages until further notice.
Mike, for the families of the hostages in Lebanon, the deadline extension is a hopeful sign, but the ordeal is hardly over. And as Channel 2's Jane Velez-Mitchell reports, there is now anger and a sense of desperation.
It may have been the pleas of these women that saved their husbands from threatened execution today.
In the name of humanity, please do not execute them.
But while their men are alive for now, the haunting fear is when the next deadline will come for any of the 8 Americans still held hostage, or when the next American hostage will be taken in this region where violence is a fact of daily life. The events are unfolding half a world away, but they've had a profound and disturbing effect upon people in our area who care deeply about the hostages. Take the case of one relative who lives right here on West 56th Street in Manhattan.
I mean, I cry, until I fall asleep. And then I wake up in the morning and say, well, all right, today we may do something.
Ken's uncle, Frank Reed, has not been seen since he was kidnapped in Beirut last September. While Reed was not among the 4 professors slated to die today, he did work at the same university and may have been captured by the same group. The current threats and uncertainty has left Reed's whole family feeling under the gun, psychologically and emotionally tormented.
It's so frustrating. It's just, it's so maddening.
Political psychoanalyst Erica Freeman says the relatives of hostages waiting for word here in the U.S. are living under intense psychological pressure.
What people feel in that sense is rage. The sense of anger at the situation and the sense of helplessness that they can do nothing about it, A, and B, that they could do nothing about it to prevent it.
But as long as there's reason to believe the hostages are still alive, there is also hope. Jane Velez-Mitchell, Channel 2 News on the Nightbeat.
Dr. Peter Rizzo never faced the danger of fighting a fire, but he died serving New York City's fire department, a murder victim. And today, nobody forgot that. Dr. Rizzo's body was carried through the snowy streets of the city, a funeral with full honors. He served on the department's pension board and was shot and killed last week, allegedly by a former city fireman whose pension request was rejected. Among the 1,500 people who packed St. Patrick's Cathedral today, former patient Brigitte Gurney, who was crushed under a crane nearly 2 years ago, and singer Pearl Bailey, another former patient.
He was a kind man. He was a fine doctor. But I don't know what it was about him. Perhaps he was a saint and we didn't know it.
Fire Commissioner Joseph Spinato called Dr. Rizzo's death a tragic waste.
In a New Jersey courtroom, an emotional plea from the surrogate mother fighting to keep baby M. Mary Beth Whitehood took the stand today and tearfully told the judge why she should keep the baby. Whitehead admitted she's made mistakes, admitted that her husband once had a drinking problem, that they had been separated, and she was once forced onto welfare. But Whitehead insisted that's all in the past, and she also said the court battle is hurting the baby.
In the long run, any mud that we throw at one another will just hurt Sarah. And I don't think that's right.
It was sad seeing Mary Beth on the stand. So you've seen Mary Beth as she wants to portray herself. And so at least she's getting her day in court.
Tomorrow, Whitehead will be back on the stand. The longest trial in Westchester County history ended with a not guilty verdict for a woman charged with child sex abuse. After 13 days of deliberations, Jeanette Martin was acquitted of abusing young children at the Mount Vernon daycare center she operated. She was found guilty of child endangerment, and one of Martin's employees, 32-year-old James Watt, was convicted of rape and sodomy.
Tonight, Channel 2 News has learned indictments in the Howard Beach racial attacks have been handed up by a Queens grand jury. A dozen teenagers now have been ordered to surrender to the authorities tomorrow morning, and some, we are told, could face murder charges. On the Nightbeat, here's Channel 2's Mary Murphy.
In the beginning, only 3 Howard Beach teenagers were charged in the attack that left one black man dead, another man beaten. Now, Channel 2 News has learned 9 others must surrender to Queens detectives tomorrow, including one teen who was free on bail.
Been told to bring Jason Ledone in, that he's been indicted. He'll be arraigned tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the Supreme Court.
Do you know what he will be charged with?
They will not tell us that.
One police investigator told us today he did not expect murder charges in the highway death of Michael Griffith, something that would surely anger black leaders who demanded a special prosecutor be assigned to the case. But one defense attorney is not so confident. His client, Scott Kearns, has been notified prosecutors want the teenager held without bail. That would suggest he's facing a very serious charge. The case has created a lot of racial division in the city, beginning with the first reports of the attack, the arrest of 3 white teens, a march through the streets of Howard Beach, followed by outrage when a judge threw out second-degree murder charges due to a lack of evidence. Queens DA John Santucci was forced to turn the case over to Special Prosecutor Charles Hines. Meantime, the family of Jason Ledone, one of the original 3 charged in the attack, has been besieged with threatening letters and phone calls.
We're going to get you guinea bastards. Merry Christmas. Jason, I am going to kill you. Hello, I don't like what your voice is in my voice. Yeah.
Family here is a fine family, hard-working mother, hard-working father. This is totally uncalled for.
One controversial figure in this case who probably won't be indicted tomorrow is court officer Dominic Blum, the driver of the car that hit Michael Griffith. Blum has not even testified before a grand jury yet. Police did not believe he was guilty of any wrongdoing, but he does face possible charges for initially leaving the scene of the accident, even though he returned later on. In Queens, I'm Mary Murphy, Channel 2 News on the Nightbeat.
Well, it wasn't as bad as many people expected, but tonight there are still some treacherous driving conditions from today's snowfall. The Long Island Expressway crawled even more slowly than usual this morning as drivers became extra careful on the slick surfaces. New Jersey roads were also tough to get around on, with falling rain and snow turning to sheets of ice on the ground. And as you might expect, there were plenty of fender benders.
People don't realize what's going on. You know, they try to get, to where they're trying to go, and they don't get nowhere. All they do is get in accidents.
Now, getting around in Connecticut wasn't much easier, but lots of students didn't mind. Many schools stayed closed or at least delayed opening for a couple of hours, giving students a little thrill and extended weekend.
Battling the common cold. Coming up next on Channel 2 News at 11, Dr. Peter Salgo has some health tips.
Plus, we will have the latest on the break-in at the home of John Cardinal O'Connor, and an arrest is made in a...